Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Monday Night Pod. My name is Jeremy Jacobowitz. I'm here with my tag team partner, Adam Welby.
Hey, yo.
And this is the podcast all about the Monday Night Wars, all about the battles between WWF Raw and WCW Nitro. Each and every single week, we go back in time and we re-review when the shows went head-to-head, with the goal at the end of the day to determine who should have really won the Monday Night Wars. Adam, why should people listen to what we have to say, though?
Because we are the trendsetters in professional wrestling right now. Let me tell you something, brother. We have been online for more than a year with the Monday Night Pod Wrestling's War podcast, and we have been free the entire time. And then all of a sudden, the network wants to have a version of itself that's out there for free. I can put nothing together other than the correlation that they saw, the raging success that is Monday Night Pod, the availability that we have for our pod heads, and decided to follow in suit. So you should listen because we're the trendsetters, and if you want to know what the next big thing in professional wrestling is going to be, you got to hang out here and live through the Monday Night Wars again with us.
Well, Adam, this is awkward. I was going to announce our Patreon today, but I guess we won't do that. We'll keep it free for you guys. We were going to do it. It's fine, whatever. Yeah, I guess that's the real reason. But the also other real reason is that we both used to work for WWE, both used to work in a WWE tape library, both used to have to watch all of wrestling. Our jobs were to literally watch all of wrestling. So we have seen a lot of it, all the old stuff, all the current stuff, and everything in between.
Oh, yeah. And the things that'll never be seen again, as we've discussed.
That is true. I had a thought, because I always have these thoughts when we do the show, and then I forget to say them. Let me say it first. You know, I'm a big data person, like going through the data, and for the podcast stuff, and YouTube too, but a podcast too delivers a lot of data. One of the things I'm able to find out is where a lot of our listeners are from, which I think is really interesting because, Adam, this is episode number 50, and we are actually a worldwide podcast, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, most listeners are in America, but of every continent except for Antarctica, we have listeners, which is wild. And I think what we find is I want to know more about you guys. Like, I want to know the data that podcast world doesn't tell me. So to our listeners in America, to our listeners in Australia, to our listeners in Sweden, Brazil, everywhere, every continent, definitely reach out to us on Twitter, Monday Night Pod. You can leave a comment if you're watching us on YouTube. You can email us at info@mondaynightpod. You could leave a review on iTunes and just tell us what you think about the podcast. What do you like? What do you hate? What do you want to see? And a little bit about yourselves. I think knowing who our audience is helps us dictate what the show is, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I'm all
I know who not to make fun of specifically, so it'd be really nice to tell me, like, hey, don't make fun of this thing because it would offend us. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, and you know what? If you're somebody who participated in the Monday Night Wars and you're a fan of the show, hit us up and let us know. That's obviously what happened with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Now he's a fan of the show, a friend of the show, in fact, I should say.
Yes,
Bull Nakano did the same thing. So
that's
I think,
true.
you know, if Jim Powers or somebody out there is listening, if one of the Grimm brothers is listening, and you want to tell us what happened during Monday Night Pod, hit us up. Maybe we'll do a little extra stuff. We'll
I will say, if specifically Jim Powers or the Harris brothers are listening to this podcast, I would turn it off now while you're happy with us, and don't continue listening to the rest of this episode.
It's almost a point to defend yourself also as an ability, but you know what? Let's see where we go. I'm just throwing some names out there. We can go back and figure out, you know, Jean-Pierre Lafitte, if he wanted to come talk to us about the origins of the cannonball. I'm there for that.
What about Mick Foley?
Oh my God. That's that's literally like a dream of mine to talk.
Well, I will give you, Adam, a tease and our fans a tease of something I have in the works for Brunch Boys coming up very soon. It is not Mick Foley, but it is. Actually, I'll show you. Actually, before I tease that, look what I bought. Let me put the mic down. See my cross for 2 seconds.
Yeah. All right.
I'll this on WWE.com. Look at this new sweet Mick Foley T-shirt.
Oh man, all faces of Foley on there.
Yeah, it's throwback. It's old school, and I got it because I'm in talks to do a little video with one of his children.
I wonder which one. Probably one with the huge Instagram presence if I had.
Probably, yeah. That would be the one who loves food. That would be the ones. We are in discussion, so stay tuned for that. A little
Exciting.
Foley family fam.
All right. Well, this time make sure she checks out Monday Night Pod.
I can't control what people listen to, Adam.
You can send it her way. You don't want to
Sure, that's what she wants.
have another Kathy Kelly situation on our hands.
She might listen. I don't know. I haven't asked her about it.
All right. Seems like a text can be made.
Who knows? Speaking of that, why don't we wish, well, it's Monday, but we're recording this Sunday, a very happy birthday to Kayla Braxton, another one of my favorite WWE announcers.
Well, I'm always down to wish a happy birthday. Do you want to sing?
Nope.
All righty.
Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Oh, hell yeah. Goodbye.
I'm just
Vince's
a sexy
favorite
Kurt. Sexy Kurt. Yeah.
I hurt my throat. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Austin singing's a tough one.
Yeah. The Austin stuff alone when you're, the New York Jew. Trying to detect rattlesnake.
What?
Yeah. What? Yeah. We'll get there. People are here for all kinds of things. They're here for our hot takes on the industry. They're here for our flawless impressions. And I think they're also here to jump in our time machine.
All right, Adam, let's do that. Let's go to Raw. Oh, boy, my throat really is all fucked up. Let's go to Raw 178. Adam here once again from Hershey Park Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And this is September 30th, 1996.
Woof.
We see clips of last week's of JR's heel turn and him introducing Razor Ramon. Get ready for more fun JR stuff all episode. But we open with King Kelly and JR welcomes us. And so far, JR seems to be in a good mood. Well, maybe because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Jake Roberts in our first match. And the match goes 8 minutes and 45 seconds. Gets to the finish, go through the match. Jake hits the DDT on Austin, but he gets his foot on the rope. At that point, Jake sees that King is taunting him with a bottle of Jack Daniels. So he goes over to be like, what are you doing? And King spits it in his face and allows Austin to hit the stunner for the win.
Yeah. I was thinking that's like the proper stunner, right?
It wasn't like a kick wham.
No, but is this like our first real exposure to the first like proper finisher Stone Cold Stunner on the Monday Night Wars? Because I was thinking back on it and I was like, I think that might be the first time we've seen it finish a match.
Oh, no. I feel like when he first busted it out, that was the finish, right?
No, when he first busted it out in the middle of the match. Because we made a specific beat of it. We recognized it was like right after Ted DiBiase had left.
Right.
And he was on.
I don't remember. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe he just hasn't won a match since then. I feel like every match he's in always like ends in a DQ or something.
Right, because as we talked about, you think Stone Cold 316 means I just whipped your ass, and then the glass is shattering and the crowds are sold out and all that stuff the next week. But nope, here we are months later. And Stone Cold is just squeaking out a win over a shirtless Jake the Snake Roberts who looks blown up as hell. Yeah. This one, man, I feel bad for Jake. I mean, Jake's moving like better today.
They're making him work like multiple matches a night also, just like give the dude a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my note. The other notes they had were, one, Vince knew like what subtlety was with the audio sweetener, because it is, I know we harp on this every single episode, but it is just, it takes you out of the moment, and it is so terrible to hear fake cheering the whole time.
Yeah. There's something about hearing non-organic cheering, about like when it's like, it just doesn't rise and fall in the same way. And it's so obvious when you listen.
Well, we had this discussion before we started the podcast about the difference between the approach of AEW and the differences in the approach of WWE and their no crowd audiences. And it's essentially the same thing where, okay, maybe they're not sweetening it with a button, but they're sweetening it by just directing every single person to do exactly what they want them to do. So, okay, this is when we want you to cheer over the loudspeaker. Cheer louder, God damn it. You know what I mean? Like, laugh at Drew's stupid joke. Stand up.
That's right. Want to see some reactions.
Right, where it seems like AEW sort of like lets the characters just be there. I mean, this is what they do in all their programming, I guess, but their characters know who they are and they react in like a human way to things. Like everything's not just a gigantic ovation because, you know, Cody said something. They're cheering organically. Some are booing, some are cheering, some are louder, some are softer. Where Vince just wants everything to be like, this is how we prove it's over. It's enormous cheers no matter what's happening.
Yeah. There's also little stories going on too amongst the audience if it's happening on Dynamite. Again, I'm doing my gimmick where I'm blindly cheering on AEW as per usual. But like specific example, you have MJF and Shawn Spears gambling in the middle of a match. Right? Like that's them reacting in a natural way for those characters to what's going on right there. Not just being locked in there and cheering and going nuts.
Right.
And
not having to stand for 18 hours in a row.
That's, hey man, that's doesn't shock me at all when that story.
I had to, like as a producer, I'd be on my feet a lot, I guess, but you were kind of like running around. So like when you're running around and moving, you don't feel it as much. When I worked at Circuit City and I sold TVs, you couldn't just like run around. There's only like a small space you could be in. You'd have to be on your feet all day. And it sucked. It was not fun at all. So I can't imagine what those performance center peeps are going through right now.
Yeah. For the kids out there, Circuit City was like Best Buy, except a little shittier. Yeah.
Not as even when I worked at Circuit City, I would prefer to shop at Best Buy. Anyway, go back to this match. My other notes were, one, they teased that Vince is on Livewire answering questions. Kind of wish Livewire was on the network because that could be fun to go back and watch. And throughout the match and throughout this whole night, JR is bitching and moaning. Fun.
Oh, boy, that's going to be a reoccurring theme tonight. And to go back to something from way, way earlier, when you talked about how we've seen everything in the world of wrestling from when it was our jobs to watch wrestling, Livewire was one of those things that we went through. Just saying, WWE, we went through. We logged.
And it's like some
we digitized
crazy shit happened on Livewire. Like that was when they would have Paul Heyman call in, but be like Bruce from Stanford just to rib everybody. So like you didn't know it was Paul Heyman, and he'd like get under the skin of maybe when Vince is doing it, but certainly when Corny was there doing it, he'd do it. Like there's lots of fun little pieces of hidden treasures on that show. So hopefully WWE puts it on the network.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Vince Russo makes his TV debut on that show.
Well, maybe that's why they're specifically holding back.
and Marissa Marzullo. There's so much talent on this show, Adam. They gotta put this shit on there.
Well, time will tell. Otherwise, it's an additional reason to listen to Monday Night Pod because it's the only way to experience a little shred of what was going on in Livewire in 1996.
That's right. All right. Any other notes on this match before we move on?
Oh, no. Not at all.
Okay, great. It sucked. Next up. Oh, sorry. After the match, Austin and King attack Jake, but Savio makes the save with a strap because Austin and Savio are still feuding months later, and they're facing off at Buried Alive.
They still are feuding with the strap. Like, they had a strap match way long ago. Yeah. Like, enough of the strap matches.
Well, that's Savio's thing. It's a Caribbean strap match, and he's from Caribbean.
Oh, he's from Caribbean, goddammit.
Anyway, next up, we got a very quick Mankind Paul Bearer graveyard promo. And, like, Mankind's there digging a grave with his bare hands.
Oh, what a perfect character Mankind is.
But it's very, very fast. And then we see Razor and Diesel backstage very quickly as Hunter Hearst Helmsley makes his way to the ring. We come back for commercial, and Hunter is in the ring cutting a promo, Mr. Perfect. He challenges Mr. Perfect, and then goes on commentary for the upcoming match. The upcoming match being the Grimm Twins, or just the Grimms, versus the Godwins with Hillbilly Jim. And this match goes 4 minutes and 30 seconds. A slap drop ends it. Who cares?
Not the commentary, that's for sure.
Nope. Adam, do you know who the Grimm Twins are?
I would like to know more because
They are AKA the Harris Brothers, AKA the Blue Brothers, AKA the future DOA, AKA whatever their stupid gimmick was with Vince Russo in WCW and in TNA. Chris and whatever the fuck Harris, the two just terrible twin brothers that repackaged 1,000 times and somehow never got better in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they were particularly bad. They're in there with the Godwins, so like, what are you gonna really?
So over the Godwins, over them. The second their music hits, I'm like, oh, who cares?
I
mean, it's literally a gimmick from 1988 that has been extended 10 years later.
Yeah, yeah. Like, why wasn't Hillbilly Jim able to do anything with them? Like, I've always sort of been curious about that. Not curious enough to look into it, but like when Hillbilly Jim was still like their manager, the dude's still big and looks like he's in ring shape. Like he's not old or anything.
I think he had a pretty big injury where he couldn't get in the ring anymore. I think it was that.
Okay, yeah.
His career was very short. I think it was something wrong with the back or neck or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, but yeah, definitely totally over these guys. Not for lack of effort by Henry and Phineas. Phineas is always the better worker. Because like, man, even like Midian, when Midian was going on, like when Midian was allowed to wrestle, Midian was a fine wrestler. I'm like a huge guy. But like, yeah, Godwin's, it's just they just reek of that era of WWF that was losing to WCW.
Right. Otherwise in the match, they basically spent the whole time interviewing Hunter on commentary. They cut back to Mr. Perfect split screen, and he says that he actually accepts Hunter's challenge, but he'll give Hunter a few weeks to get into shape to face him. I don't think this ever happens, by the way. I don't think Mr. Perfect ever gets back in the ring before he goes to WCW. I could be wrong, and I guess we'll find out, but I don't believe so.
Okay, nothing that sticks out. But, yeah, I mean, they barely talk about this match the whole time. Like, this match is just going on while Hunter talks to Perfect backstage. So, right. There you go. That match happened.
There you go. Moving on. Next up, we got more of the expose on Double J. Doc Hendricks is VOing this one this time. It says his whole career was a hoax. Instead, it was the real Double J. We find out that's Jesse James, a.k.a. the Roadie. We see his secret rehearsal tape showing that he was the singer all along. I actually think this is pretty cool that they went through footage from a year ago and are using it now, because this was a storyline we talked about this last week, that was supposed to play out over a year ago, didn't, because Jeff left, and then he came back and they wanted to be good with him, and then once he officially left, now like, all right, fuck him, use all that footage we shot exposing him and bury him before he shows up in WCW. But it's an interesting storyline that the Roadie was singing the whole time. It's taking stuff from the news, I guess, headlines from the news, but turning it into like a pretty fun wrestling storyline.
Yeah, the thing about it is, like, if they wanted to portray it as an actual like Roadie who was the one to like come up and do that, like, Roadies aren't as well dressed as Jesse James was in this one. Like, when he's up there singing, he looks practice, like
yeah, that's true. That's true. In his practice, he was, but when he came out with Jeff Jarrett, he was always in roadie gear. Like, he'd have like the necklace stuff and the backwards hat.
Yeah, but this is at a
checking the mic about boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, but their footage is like concert footage, right? And so
it's the rehearsal.
The Roadie would have been wearing all of his show blacks from setting up.
Maybe. All right, here's my thought. Maybe what they did was Roadie had to sing so they could record it, but just in case anyone in the arena was looking down, they couldn't tell it wasn't Jeff Jarrett, because you couldn't see because it's far away. But he was like dressed up, so like, oh, that must be Jeff Jarrett.
That's much more subtle storytelling. And super capable of, Jer Bear. I appreciate you going for it, but I will boil and eat a shoe before that is confirmed that was what they were going for.
Well,
and I wonder how soon we're gonna see Jesse James ourselves.
I think they said next week. No.
I can't. Ooh, I can't remember.
Next up, it is Razor Ramon versus Savio Vega. This match goes 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Fake Diesel, I'll just go to the end, I'll go through it. Fake Diesel comes out, your buddy Adam, to ringside and pulls ropes so Savio flies over, and that's a DQ. A pretty strong win there for your debuting Fake Razor Ramon.
Well, you know, Fake Diesel has he's jacked, man. Like, Kane's looking good out there. His arms are cut as hell.
But when you both him and Fake Razor, when you compare them to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, Fake Razor is just fat. Yeah, and Kane, Glenn Jacobs, Fake Diesel is not as like big and girthy as Kevin Nash.
He's not as lanky as Kevin Nash. He's still like a jacked, strong ass dude, but he's not like it seems like Kevin Nash would have a larger wingspan.
Oh yeah, he was a basketball player for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Kane was a basketball player too.
But Kevin Nash was like a college, like actually pretty high ranked basketball player.
I feel like Glenn Jacobs played basketball in college, but probably like a smaller school. Yeah. I'm gonna look that up really quick. But do you think they actually had the audience? Like, do you think the audience actually chanted
Razor?
No, Fake. I thought they were chanting Fake during
it. Maybe because they all hated it. And seeing if I thought they were chanting Razor for some reason, and maybe they were chanting Fake, and the commentary is told to just say that they were chanting Razor.
By the way, Glenn Jacobs earned a degree in English literature from Northeast Missouri State University, now known as Truman State University, where he played both basketball and football.
What is it, D3?
Oh, what am I, OnStar? Hold on.
That's a big difference, Adam. Anyway, I'll just run through this match. We looked that up. Gorilla comes out to join commentary just so he could fight JR. They spend the entire match arguing over, basically like, you said Hall and Nash aren't here. I never said Hall and Nash were going to be here. But Hall and Nash, I never said that. They go back and forth, and it's very, very annoying. Meanwhile, during the middle match, we cut backstage to Doc, and he says, "Oh, I just saw Diesel walk into this locker room. I'm going to go interview him." They said, "Okay, cool, Doc. Keep us updated." We go back to the match, and then we come back to, to Doc, and he's like, "I went into the locker room, and he's not there." Which made no sense.
Yeah, that's actually,
did he already have like Kane magic going on or something?
Yeah, right. That's how he became him. Truman State University is a D2 school, by the way.
There you go. That's pretty good.
So yeah. I guess they should have maybe had some more communication back there with didn't going on. Well, I guess he's not here. There was
it's also a tape show. Why do you bother? Why would you bother to set it back to Doc just for he cannot find a 7-foot-tall man that just walked into a room? Just don't do anything. Just don't mention it.
It reminds me of this segment that they do on the Adam Carolla show called Huell's Jewels with a gentleman by the name of Huell Hauser, who is a guy who used to work on public television for somewhere in California. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was a public television guy who would just go around to places to explore them. He'd go to like a tortilla factory, or he'd go to a salt farm or something like that. And nothing was left on the edit room floor in that show because it's public television or whatever. And so you'd see him go let's go check out this business here. It looks like a mighty fine cafe. And then they'd go and it'd be closed or something. And go well, hold on, let's see if we can get in touch with the owner. And then they'd find a payphone because this is from before cell phones. And he'd call up the owner. They're like, oh, you're closed today? All right, then. And then they move on to the next thing, that whatever the hell he was doing. It's fucking hilarious if you ever get a chance to check out Huell Hauser, California Adventure or something like that, I think it's called. But it's just like that. It's like all this kind of stuff where like, well, if you went to go do this thing and the thing wasn't there, then just leave it. Who cares?
Right.
But
my only other note from this whole thing.
Right along.
My only other note from this whole thing was this is definitely a rib on JR, because JR's like, I fired 3 times, and Gorilla's like, shut your fucking mouth about being fired, JR. Doesn't matter. Stop bitching. Like, you know that's Vince feeding Gorilla all those lines.
Yeah. He goes. JR goes. What do you think, Gorilla? You ever been fired from this company? You ever had to think about putting food in your family? How are you going to put food in your family's mouth? And Gorilla goes, hell, it looks like you haven't missed any meals.
And you know Vince and Bruce are just in the back howling, laughing.
Oh, my God. There were some real commentary burns today. I didn't talk about it in our I forgot to talk about it in the Stone Cold Jake Roberts match, but there was a King line of the night for me where he said, you know what Jake and a beer bottle have in common? They're empty from the neck up.
There were some. I mean, it's awkward because JR is still a face, sort of. He's only a heel when we're talking about fake Razor and fake Diesel.
Yeah, he's still right.
It's a weird dynamic.
Everything that happened, everything he's complaining about, he has legitimate grounds to complain about.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm just saying he's still rooting on the faces in the match, you know.
Yeah, that's
for the most part.
We'll definitely see in this main event that he is very much still a face commentator.
Yes. All right, after match, Razor hits the Razor's Edge, and Diesel hits a jackknife because fuck you, we're here, bro. Next up, we go back to the cemetery. This time, Taker. He says that he will dig the grave, and he's more prepared than Mick because he actually has a shovel.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny?
Another very quick promo there.
Yeah, they're both very quick both times. So they're probably just like, they had the long graveyard promos last week, and they're probably like, all right, well, we got the crew for another hour and a half here before we got a break. So let's just do something really quick. Come on, guys.
Right.
Nick, you start digging with your hands. I had a thought that we didn't get into last week. I meant to bring it up last week, but I think it's a little silly how they keep talking about how the Buried Alive match is an unsanctioned match.
Yes, unsanctioned.
And yet, the pay-per-view is titled after the match. You remember
excellent point.
Yes. Now, of course, this is in 1996 time, but I believe both, so I'm not being a total mark about this, I believe both NXT and AEW have done this. When they had unsanctioned matches, that would be I believe it was Gargano versus Ciampa, and Moxley versus Omega. Both of those unsanctioned matches happened after the stop time of the show. So, like, the pay-per-view went to 11, and then it just kept going for that.
Oh, I didn't notice that, but it was definitely the last match, at least.
No, yeah, I remember specifically with I'm pretty sure, I'm like 70% sure it happened with the Gargano Ciampa match that I'm thinking of, but I'm positive it happened with the Omega Moxley match. That, like, they let the whole show play out, they did the whole thing, the 11 o'clock thing happened. So, like, all right, thanks for, not thanks for joining us, so much, but, like, when a pay-per-view would end, they had the unsanctioned match after that.
Right.
Which is a brilliant way to handle it in 2020. But yeah, it's just a little thing, a little silly that you're naming your pay-per-view after your unsanctioned event, but I'm there for it. I get you.
It is. Next up, Adam, it is Vader and Jim Cornette versus Shawn Michaels and Jose Lothario. This match goes 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Vader hits a Vader bomb and actually pins Shawn Michaels clean in the middle of the ring.
Clean as a whistle. The uncrowned champion of the World Wrestling Federation, as they call him.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd think that there would be more to talk about with Jose and Corny in this, but there's definitely not because they don't get that much time
Well,
in there.
remember, I went back and I watched the last pay-per-view of their actual match. The fact that they're only in the ring for 15 seconds is a godsend, Adam.
No. I believe it. I'm there for it. I think it would have been. Look. I'm glad that Big Daddy Big Daddy Vader here got a clean pin over HBK. I still stand by my belief that he should have been champion. That HBK should have dropped the title to him. At one point,
Which was the plan.
Yep. History is not kind to what WWE did to Leon White. I will.
Well, what Shawn did to Leon White. In
that sense, yes, they should have put him in the Hall of Fame when he was alive. Like,
I agree with that.
It almost feels like they're ribbing on him. Like,
I still don't. He's not in the Hall of Fame. I know we've probably talked about this 1,000 times. How is this possible?
It feels like a mean Vince thing that like he kept him out of the Hall of Fame when they knew his health was deteriorating for like those last couple of years, where he was just like kind of like he'd go up for a little bit and then it would just drop, and then he'd go up and then it would just drop, and it was getting worse and worse. Why the hell wasn't he in the Hall of Fame class in Atlanta when they were?
Well, the Atlanta one, the Atlanta one is so stupid too. Like they didn't do a WCW thing in Atlanta
because they can never give it props to WCW for anything. Like they know obviously Leon White is a Hall of Fame talent, easily first ballot Hall of Famer. Great career.
I don't know, first ballot, but yes, very high.
Great career. He's not going to headline one, obviously, but incredible career. Totally a trailblazer for a guy of his size. Made people look great in the ring, and you've never heard a negative thing about him from anyone. If anything, he was too nice of a guy because
other than the fact that he didn't wash his gear.
Right. But
and he was pretty fucking stiff in the ring, Adam.
Yeah, but there was just a thread on Twitter a couple of months ago where someone was trying to say like I'd much rather have. What was it? It was like someone had missed a bunch of punches with a jobber or something like that. And they're like, I'd much rather have, like a star missing a bunch of shots rather than getting roughed up like Vader or whatever. And they showed this clip of Vader just like fucking up this jobber. But then that jobber like spoke up from his Twitter account and said like, I never had anything but a great experience with Leon. He was always a professional.
Always professional.
Working with him.
Yeah,
loved working with him. Like just because someone works stiff doesn't mean that like they were a dick about it. Like if that's
no, I agree. But still, people were like, "Ugh, he smells, and I'm going to get my ass beat." Not my favorite match necessarily.
I can't imagine, but it just feels cruel to me that like if you know somebody's going to be a Hall of Famer. If you know that they've put in the work and that they deserve that recognition, and you also know that they're not going to be around for that many more years, put them in the goddamn Hall of Fame. It's stupid. It's petty. It's ugly. I hate that Vader's not in there.
But I don't know if it was malicious. I just think they just kept being like, all right, pal, what you got? And Hunter's like, oh, what about this person? And they're like, oh, okay, sure. Oh, what about Vader? We'll get to it next year.
Exactly.
I don't think it was malicious. I just think it was like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll do them next year. It's okay.
I didn't say it was malicious, though. I'm saying it's stupid. It's tone deaf. It's petty. Like, you need to.
All those things sound like you're saying it's malicious.
I reject that they don't have the foresight or the knowledge that, like, they had all these Hall of Fame classes, and they know that Vader's going to be a Hall of Famer, and they know that Vader's health is deteriorating, and they have a chance to put him in alive, where he can go up and he can get that recognition, and he can say his piece, and he can get that love from the fans that he deserved, and he doesn't get it. That shit pisses me off. I'm sorry if it sounds irrational to anybody that like people got to be in line for their thing. But I think if somebody has done that much, is that beloved, and they only get this chance because the Hall of Fame for a lot of these guys is that last moment for them. The vast majority of them. Nobody's going to be cheering for Hillbilly Jim again. The aforementioned Hillbilly Jim, who's in the Hall of Fame before Vader, to be clear.
Well, he retired way before Vader, though. He retired 15 years before Vader, 10 years before Vader retired.
There's been a gaggle of folks. Now, of course, some of the people who are coming to mind who have retired after Vader who are in were obviously like going to go in before him. Dudley's, Kurt Angle, whatever. Or like not before him, but who are like world champions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's baffling to me that Vader is not in the Hall of Fame and it pisses me off that he didn't get that last moment of recognition that he definitely deserved. Other than that, I have no strong feelings one way or another.
Great. My only other note for this entire match is that we saw clips of Shawn Michaels rocking the vote at Macy's in Herald Square.
We sure did. They were,
yeah.
Vince really wanted to get some Republicans registered in New York, I guess.
Maybe back then, I guess he's always been a Republican. Who knows? He wasn't a billionaire yet, so maybe he wasn't a Republican yet. Maybe that I feel like that happens once you become a billionaire.
I don't know. I noticed severe, like I remember a lot of register to vote stuff with the WWE and WWF when there were Democrats in office. I don't remember a lot of it happening during the Bush years, and we certainly haven't seen any of it this year.
None of it this year. I'm trying to think. In the first one I would have gone through with them would have been 2000. Yeah, I guess it was, yeah, okay. Whatever. But anyway, that's Raw, Adam.
Sure is. As you
thoughts
can tell,
on Raw?
We spoke most about things that were not on Raw right there.
Because nothing of much note happens on Raw, honestly.
No. Oh, during the Vader HBK tag match, Shawn got out of a powerbomb with a Hurricane Rana, as they called it, but it was in a Frankensteiner motion. So our debate from last week is totally null and void.
I thought about that. Well, I thought that was, when I agreed with you last week, I wasn't agreeing with you that is what it was. I just agreed with the theory on what it should be.
It's like when the Steiners do it, it's a Frankensteiner.
Well, no, your theory of the twisting. I was like, that makes sense, but I wasn't agreeing with you that that's the way it's executed in real life. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah, but I guess instead, it should just be like how a power bomb's a power bomb until Batista does it, and then it's a Batista bomb. I get it. But yeah, man. Looking back at Raw, I don't have a lot of things to talk about. There is literally zero things I'd say to go back and watch. But we're at week 3 of a pre-recorded shit from the same venue. The audience is tired. It's just even the best stuff from last week.
I mean, the only thing I give Raw credit for is that they are advancing a number of storylines that are interesting.
Okay.
Everything had progression. Did they do that in a good way that was entertaining? Maybe not. Did all the matches suck? Yeah, probably. But at least it's like, okay, well, we have this whole JR thing with Razor and Diesel. That's moving ahead. We have Stone Cold and Savio moving ahead. We have Undertaker and Mankind moving ahead. We have Shawn Michaels Vader moving ahead. We have now a new Hunter Mr. Perfect thing moving ahead. So they're at least like telling stories, which they didn't do on Raw a year ago.
Yeah, that's a fair observation. I'll
Was
take
it good
that.
though?
No, absolutely not. But the question is, will Nitro be better?
Let's do it, Adam. Let's go to Nitro. Nitro is coming to you from get ready for this one, the CSU Convocation Center in Cleveland, Ohio.
Woo.
Wow. And we're live, and Tony and Larry open up the show. But they throw it right to Eric Bischoff, and he says that it's like a very slow zoom in on Eric because this is very, very serious. Talks about the history of WCW. Really, he means the history of like not even the NWA. He talks about it going back to 1905. The lineage of the World Heavyweight Championship goes back that far. The WCW definitely doesn't. Jim Crockett definitely doesn't. And NWA definitely doesn't, but that's semantics. Says the NWO has to stop. It's not fun. The NWO are dirt bags. Imagine if you're watching YouTube that the camera's slowly zooming in on my face. He says that the one mistake he ever made in WCW is bringing in Hulk Hogan. While Eric is all serious about this, the fans chant NWO.
Over.
They were taking over. More to come with all of that. But first off, WCW Tag Team Championship match. Our new Tag Team Champions, Public Enemy, are going up against El Técnico and Juventud Guerrera.
Wow.
Do you know who El Técnico is?
My notes auto-corrected him to El Technicolor. So, well, the announcers told us that El Técnico is a very revered athlete from Mexico who has an extensive background there. And definitely don't recognize that he looks like somebody wearing Christmas pajamas that was just given a mask like right before they had to go out there.
Yeah, he looks like Los Conquistador, but wearing red and green instead. But that is a very baby Adam Billy Kidman.
Wow. All right.
Yes, Billy Kidman. But anyway, this match goes 2 minutes. My first question is, why does a brand new El Técnico teaming for the first time with a relatively brand new Juventud Guerrero, who now this is his third different title he's been going after in like a month in the company. Why did they deserve a championship match?
Yeah, especially after Public Enemy just won it last week. I mean, man, they worked their tag team champions to the bone in WCW.
But they could have matches, but why is it? I mean, they did this to Giant too. This is a very WCW thing. It's the championship is on a line. Throw him out there against a jobber. What? Like, it boggles my mind how they're just like, yeah, championship match. Of course it is. Who cares? Why bother?
You got to be a fighting champion, you know?
I guess so. That's why you have no more contenders. Anyway, this match goes 2 minutes. Drive-by ends it. They pretty much murder El Técnico. After match, Rocco Rock slingshot somersaults himself over the top rope through Billy Kidman. I wrote Billy Kidman, sorry. El Técnico, who's on a table on the outside.
As per Public Enemy usual.
Yep. Any thoughts on this match?
Oh, no. I mean, like I already covered it. Technico looks like he's wearing Christmas pajamas, and
yeah, that was my
through here. It's confused. I mean, Public Enemy is we've talked about them. They're like so much more agile than they should be for guys of their size. I don't think really that they should be champions over Harlem Heat right now, especially going into defending against the Outsiders. Which is coming up at Slim Jim Presents Halloween Havoc, because you have to say the whole thing. It's Slim Jim Presents Halloween Havoc.
Paid a shit ton of money. They better get that.
Oh, well, we're going to get to what my favorite thing of the whole night was in that vein. I see that you appear to agree as well. But yeah, not much to talk about with this match. When we were logging, I would always refer to Public Enemy as sort of the grocery store brand's version of the Dudley Boys in a way. Even though they wrestle very different styles, there's just something there. So maybe it's something with the
tables and it's ECW and it's rough and blah blah blah.
We've seen this. We've seen this every week. Like even though Nitro is 2 hours, like that first hour, they don't really put a crazy amount of effort into what their opening match is going to be. They do something that like they think is going to be good enough, and then like sometimes they do. Like last week, we started with Pat Tanaka versus Super Callow. No, 2 weeks ago. We started with 3 weeks. 3 weeks. My God, what am I doing here? Last week was Taskmaster and Conan versus Hoovy and Brad Armstrong. Yeah, that's right. 2 weeks ago was Hoovy versus Rey Mysterio Jr. So, you know what? Maybe they're just like, hey, Hoovy opens the show. Let's put them out there. It's been like a month straight of who be opening the show. I think we just
Adam.
That's what it is.
Next up, we get a WCW Big Boys t-shirt promo with Hacksaw, which is fun. And then Mike Tenay interviews Mongo, Deborah, and Benoit. Guess what Deborah says? Deborah reminds us that Mongo played football. And then Benoit talks about facing Rick Steiner tonight.
Yep. And now the Horsemen are a unit, just like a football team, and they are going to go where the others go.
Yep. Next up, we got our first NWO vignette of the night, Adam. So the difference is, those is paid for by NWO. Now it's Hogan going, not anymore.
Do you think that was Hogan, or do you think that was Ted? I thought it was Ted DiBiase.
It sounded a lot like Hogan.
It did, but it sounded a lot like Ted DiBiase.
I don't know, whatever it is. But that's going to play over and over because this is part of from winning war games to get free commercial time anyway. Anyway, they're in a hotel room. Hoaxster has Nasty Nick at Night, a little boy sitting on his legs, his lap. I just assume that's Nick Hogan. I'm going to make the assumption there that it's not another just random child sitting on his lap. But anyway, they're all drinking and fucking around, and we are going to come back to this multiple times tonight.
Yeah. If you go back and watch it, podheads, do me a favor. Look over, I think it was Hall. Yeah, look over Scott Hall's shoulder while they're getting towards the end of this segment, because you will, if you look at the wall on and behind it, our YouTube viewers will be able to see me pantomime this a little bit, but I'll try and describe it as well. You will see the director's hand in a shadow, waving, and then go, wrap it up. And it's extremely clear, like they're casting a heavy shadow. Like, I don't know, they should have told whatever DP they're working with that, like, just because this is in black and white doesn't mean shadows don't show up. You'll see the entire crew's shadows on the wall behind them pretty hard. And so you can see them giving them the wrap up pretty good here, because clearly they gave them no direction in this NWO backstage celebration. Everyone is talking over each other, and it's only going to get worse with all of them as we go through tonight.
Yes, but next up, it's Dean Malenko versus Alex Wright. Adam, this match goes 5 minutes and 15 seconds. Dean comes out holding Rey Mysterio's mask, which he took on Saturday night, I believe. What's good in 1996, I guess, works in 2020 because Seth Rollins is doing the same exact thing every week on Raw now. But anyway, Dean Malenko comes off the top rope going for a crossbody. Alex Wright is able to duck it, and then a quick roll-up for the win. Surprise win over Dean's. Upset win over Dean.
Now, it's funny you say what works in 96 works in 2020. It's the same way in the athleticism in this match. It's a short match. It's really but these two, they work a style that works today even, because they're just both so fluid and so athletic. It's kind of, it's kind of short, and it's not that special of a match, but it's not bad by any means.
It's fine. Next up, we see clips from Saturday night. We see Liz coming out to watch Randy Savage's match. Savage loses his mind, destroying everyone, going after the referee, specifically Nick Patrick, and we'll see more of that a little bit later. Mike Tenay is then going to interview Randy Savage at an entranceway to play Savage's music, but he doesn't come out. What's going to happen? I don't know. But let's go to commercial. And here's where it gets good, Adam, because we find Macho Man, and he's in a Slim Jim commercial for Halloween Havoc. It's a Slim Jim Halloween Havoc sweepstakes where you could win. You could win what Randy calls a monster truck. It's just a Dodge Ram. It's a pickup truck. Those are two very different things. WCW should know the difference of what a monster truck is, considering their main event of last year's Halloween Havoc.
And featured one of the best segments that we've ever seen on this show. Right.
Or you could win tickets to go see a show, whatever. Macho Man is on a different level here. Ric Flair even fucking shows up with the women. I was not women, some women. I thought this was fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so good that Duke came up here to say hi. It's so darn good. Macho is wearing a bunch of different masks through it, just really cheesy Halloween masks.
He's
And
like, it's me, ha ha
yeah. Oh, it looks like a wolf man, but it's really me behind it. Yeah. I was talking with Frankenstein earlier. He's a pretty cool dude, but green ain't my color. It's so good. This is like the best thing. And like it just gets crazier and crazier as like it's Macho Man wearing a bunch of costumes, and then all of a sudden there's a race car in the middle of it, and then Ric Flair just randomly shows up with the women, and Macho's reaction to Flair is like, "What are you doing here, Rick?" And Rick's like, "I'm here to check out that like whatever." Like it's just so corny and over the top and way longer than it needs to be. But it's hilarious.
It's like a 4-minute segment.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, this is my favorite thing of the night so far. It is on both shows. It is.
Spoiler, it will be my favorite thing of the whole night.
Same here.
Anyway.
Right now, this is what you go back to and watch.
Absolutely. It's the only thing to go back and watch this whole night. Anyway, next up, it's Eddie Guerrero versus Jim Powers. Teddy Long. This match goes 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Eddie Guerrero hits a German suplex. Patrick calls for a 3, but there's confusion as both guys kept wrestling. Like we hear like a 1, 2, 3. Both guys decide to keep wrestling. Teddy Long argues that Eddie's shoulders were down and Jim Power got his shoulders up. It did not look like that. It just looked like Eddie pinned him. So you sort of want to blame Nick Patrick here, but I did not see any of that. Nick tells Teddy Long to be a ref if he has a problem, which, Adam, is probably like the best long-term storytelling that's ever existed in wrestling.
Yeah, right.
Planted those seeds for him to become a ref in a few years.
Yeah, that's fair. Did he start as a ref too? Wasn't he a ref like forever?
He did. So he started as just like a ring attendant or something, and then I believe his first on-camera thing was as a ref.
Another Hall of Famer right there, Mr. Theodore Long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this match just had me thinking of like how fluid Guerrero is. We see Matt Gaffari in the crowd again, that Olympic silver medalist that we talked about last week. I don't know if they were trying to, they're trying to convince him to become a wrestler.
Whining and dining him.
Yeah, obviously that never came to fruition. But yeah, Guerrero is just so darn smooth in this. And Powers, I know we were talking at the beginning of the show, maybe not the kindest things to say about Powers. I don't think he's that bad. He's just lacking an it factor, and he's not like playing to the crowd at all. Like he's just in the match. Yeah. He's one of those guys who's going to be there for a second. But anyway,
my only other note was Nick Patrick is selling the Attack by Savage on Saturday night. He is wearing like a big neck brace that he's going to have on for the rest of the night too, which is pretty funny. Yeah,
the big neck brace on Nick Patrick is hilarious.
Next up, we go back to the hotel room with the NWO. They're watching Nitro as the Nasty Boys show up to talk business, and they just all yell over each other for a minute, and it's over.
Yeah, I think Six tries to call for room service or something like that.
Yeah.
At one point, I think it was it Knobs or Sags? I think it was Sags. Gets up stands up on the table, and
I think that was next time we come back. This is just them coming into the room.
Oh, like no, I had it here. Oh well, whatever. We'll go on to when you have it going down. I trust your notes better than mine.
Oh, maybe. I don't fucking know. But they're like
Right. He says he's going to do an impression of Eric Bischoff, and then Ace Ventura's out of his ass.
Yes. Maybe I did see that. I wanted to unsee it, so I just didn't write it down. It's probably much more likely.
It's the only thing to write down because it's the only thing that happened in this segment.
I guess so. I just tuned out. I'm like, nope, don't care. Anyway, come back to the arena, and Mike Tenay is interviewing Arn, Woman, and Liz. Arn questions Liz about her not going to Japan, and now they see her going to support Savage. Where's her loyalty? What is she doing? Woman questions her too. Liz just says it's very complicated. Arn then talks about facing Lex Luger at Halloween Havoc. But our next match up is Hugh Morris versus Brad Armstrong. And this match goes 4 minutes and 15 seconds. In the middle of it, we go to hour 2. Match ends with 2 laughing matters.
Yeah, one from one side of the ring and then one from the other side of the ring. And no laughing matter is always just a gross, like painful looking move. But yeah, that's a win for Mr. Morris. It's been kind of on a jobbing streak lately, so it's good for him.
Yeah, the match is stupid. Next up, we go backstage and we see Arn and Woman questioning Liz because she says that she can't go out to ringside. So they're blah, 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 blah. Very quick segment. Anyway, because it's hour 2, we go to Eric, Heenan, and Tenay. Eric immediately says that he has to leave because he's going to go to the hotel and find out what's happening with the NWO by himself. He's worried about Savage. He's worried about what's going on there. He's going to figure it out. He says if Tony wants to come do play-by-play, he can get his ass up here, and that's exactly what happens for our next match, which is Chris Jericho versus Arn Anderson, which goes 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Jericho misses the lion salt, and Arn is able to hit the DDT for the win.
Yeah. The announcers are really doing a job of trying to put Chris Jericho over in this, which I appreciate. They're talking about how big of a star this kid is going to be.
He's the future of wrestling.
It sure is. They were right on the money with that one.
I mean, to be fair, they said that about Alex Wright, Jim Powers, all those other losers also. But they happened to get it right for Chris Jericho.
A broken clock is right twice a day. And it's still fun to see Jericho at this level. Like he does his springboard. It's not the lion salt, but where he does his springboard to the corner and then
to the outside,
drop kick somebody to the outside. But then at this point, he's doing it as a forearm twisting in the air. It's fun, and I like seeing Arn drop the DDT out of nowhere. This is. Sometimes Arn is playing at too high of a level, actually quite often when it comes to Nitro. They have Arn playing at too high of a level because, he's wrestling Sting or Macho Man or whoever main eventer or Lex Luger. That we don't get to see Arn, get real strong wins in there. And so this is good to see, Arn get, a good, strong one-on-one win, but also Jericho – they're really putting him over as the biggest challenge of his young career so far, and how just being out there with Arn is a huge thing. I really think everything about this match worked in the way it needed to.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The storyline they were trying to tell, which they were doing a bit of commentary on Arn, was that Arn was distracted because of what's going on with Liz. And Chris Jericho was certainly taking advantage of a distracted Arn, but at the end of the day, it's still Arn Anderson, and he's going to whoop someone's ass. Anyway, we go back to Tony, Tenay, and Bobby, and we see Liz leaving the arena with all of her bags. Where could she be going? But in the meantime, it's M. Wall Street versus Lex Luger, Adam. The just barn burners tonight. This match goes 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And in all that 7 minutes and 30 seconds, my only note was, this sucks. And Lex Luger ends it when he locks on the rack for the win.
Yeah, it was 7 minute and 30 second match. Or what'd you say? 7:30?
Yeah, yep.
7 minute and 30 second match. It was also 7 minutes and 22 seconds of rest holds. It was quite boring. I expect a lot more out of these two, especially Lex is in his prime right now. 95, 96.
M. Wall Street is just the worst.
Also, when did he go from being VK Wall Street to M. Wall
last
Street?
Week. So remember last week, because they introduced Vince, they couldn't have two characters be ribs on Vince. So they changed him to M. Wall Street last week.
Look, I'm down with that explanation, but I don't remember anyone coming on TV and saying, we can't rib Vince McMahon twice. So VK Wall Street is now M. Wall Street.
Yes. He lost the V.
Now, admittedly.
VKM. Lost the VK.
Right. Admittedly, I like a cool, one of my least favorite finishers of all time is the brogue kick. And let me tell you why.
Mm.
Because the way that they did the brogue kick for so damn long was laying in the corner and go, brogue, 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 just calling it out like that.
Tuning up the band.
Right. Tuning up the band. Not a fan of that either. Brogue kick's a little more on the nose, so that's why I went with it. Because that's in more common times. But what I love with a finisher is something that can get just snap out of nowhere, something that you can reverse something and go right into it. And I love like a clever way to see that happen. You don't really think of the torture rack as one of those things that can be snapped in out of nowhere. But that's what happened for the very finish of this match. So these last 8 seconds of the match that I was referring to was cool because Wall Street goes for what was his finisher? Stock market crash or something like that.
I don't know.
This is suplex thing. He gets him up for the suplex. Lex reverses it, goes down, and like in the same fluid motion, gets him up for the torture rack, and then like racks him out of it. Just sort of like how Anderson hit the DDT out of nowhere here. I'm such a fan of like finisher out of nowhere, and so I was glad to see that happen here.
Yes. Next up, we go back up to announcers. They talk about being wrong about Sting, so they want to offer him a peace offering, and they bring out the new Sting Busch racing car. Adam, how cool is that?
Oh boy, I wonder what sort of deal TNT had with NASCAR at the time because
Busch Series, so it's different. It's not NASCAR.
Oh, see how terrible I am at this already?
So I paid close attention, then I realized when they said the race was on Saturday. The NASCAR is Sunday, and what's called the Busch Series then, I believe it's called something else now, is like the second tier of NASCAR. So you compete in the Busch Series before you could compete for NASCAR.
Okay, was the Slim Jim car a NASCAR or a Busch car? Do you remember?
The Slim Jim car? Oh, that.
Was it the Halloween commercial?
Oh, that you could win. I want to say it was all Busch Series,
okay,
which is definitely a cheaper sponsorship.
Right.
So
NWO was the NASCAR one.
No, we got that confused too, apparently, because we'll talk about it in a minute when they go back there. But then they talk about, again, the race being Saturday. So I believe they were all Busch Series racing cars.
But I looked up this thing. I saw this article.
I think it's all NASCAR, but I think like specifically like the NASCAR at that time was the Winston Cup Series, and that was the Sunday, and then it was the Busch Series.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of our fans are big NASCAR fans. You could explain the intricacies of this to us. That would be great.
Well, on Bleacher Report, Christopher Leone wrote an article in May of 2013 titled "Ranking the 10 Most Embarrassing NASCAR Driver Sponsors in History." And number 10 in this list was the NWO, WCW NWO to be specific.
That's a pretty sweet sponsorship. So I think that this whole article is stupid. What was number one?
Number one was Viagra. I'm more into number two, Bordeaux's butt paste.
Funny, this is a very random thing. I watched a YouTube video the other day about this very subject, but more about sponsorships of like companies that never even ended up existing. Like there's some like fraudulent energy thing that was owned by like an African prince or some shit that bought a car sponsorship, had a sponsorship for like the whole year. And then they realized it was never a real company and they never had any money. Anyway, enough Busch Series. I don't know. If anyone wants to tell us a real answer, tweet us at Monday Night Pod. That'd be great. I'll shout you out on next week's episode of The Real Answer. But in the meantime, Adam,
I wonder if Quibi would have sponsored a car had the state of the world been different today.
Right. Next up, Adam, it's the Faces of Fear, Jimmy Hart versus the Rock and Roll Express. This match goes 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Good God.
Woof.
Gibson grabs Jimmy Hart, who's on the ring apron. That allows Barbarian to kick him in the back of the head and pin him for the win. This is another 8-minute match, Adam, that I have no notes for.
Just a hard kick. Yeah, I know. I was like, all right, here we go. Rock and Roll Express. We know what they're capable of, even if at their age at this time. But Faces of Fear are just those guys who just like they love they love to stiff the shit out of everybody.
I mean, also the other issue is that the Rock and Roll Express, first of all, they're still hawking their merch from the 80s, which is amazing. But, you know, the problem with them is they are the greatest at the hot tag. And they did the hot tag and nobody cared. And if that's like what the whole match leads up to and not one person in the audience gives a shit, maybe it's time not to book the Rock and Roll Express.
Right. Well, I mean, Gibson gets the hot tag and then just gets shut down so quick because you're going up against.
But there wasn't there was a hot tag and nobody cheered.
Yeah.
That's the whole Rock and Roll Express gimmick is that hot tag.
Yeah.
Anyway, after the match, the beatdown continues, but Public Enemy come out for the save. But doesn't matter because Faces of Fear destroy them anyway, going after Johnny Grunge's legs.
I think so.
Yeah, I forget.
But they pull down the knee pad and do the whole thing where they're beating the shit out of the knee, and the announcers are, oh no, they've got to go against the Outsiders coming up. This is no, we can't have this happening. Like, kind of dumb that they're doing that if everybody's supposed to be against the NWO right now.
Oh, they're the Faces of Fear. They're monsters, Adam.
I mean, even they're supposed to be circling the wagons, man. Even didn't the Faces of Fear commit to taking out the NWO as well some weeks back? But
that's true. They were around the ringside protecting the ring from the NWO.
Well,
but Public Enemy got in their business, Adam, and you got to show them who's boss.
Look, I guess when you work as stiff as the Faces of Fear, you get your bell rung quite a few times, and your short-term memory isn't as robust as it once was. So maybe they don't recall protecting the ring from NWO some time ago.
That must be it. Anyway, go back to the hotel room. Nasty Boys are there just stuffing their fucking faces with food. Hulk Hogan talks about Nick wanting to race cars. So because he wants to race cars, here's Kyle Petty, who's racing the NWO car in the NASCAR Busch Series race. If we got that right, whatever. He's there too. They talk about like going to Hollywood and all the deals Hulk Hogan promised him and blah, blah, blah,
blah. Yeah. Yeah, his son certainly wanted to race cars.
That's true. Forgot about that.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It looks like he was released from prison early due to good behavior in May of 2012. Wow. Oh, man, he's been out for a long time.
Great job, Nick Hogan. Anyway, next up, it's our main event.
No, that's he was released from probation. He was released from jail in 2008. So he didn't serve a lot of time, in fact. Interesting. Because he was after, so just to catch people up, he was doing some street racing while he had a little bit of alcohol in his blood in 2007. And he crashed and killed the guy who was in the car with him. And so let's see. He pleaded no contest to charges. Was sentenced to 8 months. 8 months. Ooh, he got out. Oof. 500 hours of community service and a driver's license suspended for 3 years. It's a pretty light sentence. Well, I guess that's what happens when you take your vitamins and say your prayers.
Absolutely. Anyway, the main event, Adam. Chris Benoit with Mongo and Deborah versus Rick Steiner. This match goes 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Rick goes for a superplex, but Deborah distracts Nick Patrick, who's the referee. So Mongo could slam the Halliburton into his back, and Benoit is able to pin him for the win.
Yeah, I guess if any match was, if you were to give a match 8 minutes on this night, this probably should have been the match, not Luger Street or the tag match we were just talking about. Because
my only note is that Nick Patrick actually cuts a pretty funny promo before the match.
I had that. I also had notes that these guys, they are two guys who are stoked to suplex each other. I mean, they're just fucking throwing each other around from the very start of this match. And these are two types who I would actually want to see more out of. I'd love to see Scott Steiner like go like a good.
Yeah, I feel like Scott must be hurt because we've seen Rick in a lot of singles matches, and I cannot remember last time we saw them actually tag together.
That's true. That's true. It's been at least a month.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I would have loved to. Like, these are two competitors who I would love to have seen gone at it a lot more. Unfortunately, we are not given that. But for the time that it was given, other than like a stupid Mongo finish because it's, it's Mongo, they did their best. So it's just stiff tosses.
Yep. Well, that might have been the main event, Adam, but that wasn't the end of the show. We go back to the NWO one more time, and oh my God, Liz is there. They're basically trying to convince Liz to sign at the NWO. Giant talks about being a Hollywood actor already. He's been in 2 movies.
One with Arnold.
One of Arnold. Vince walks in with the present for the NWO. Hogan's pitching Liz and all these movie deals. She could star with Brad Pitt, blah, 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 blah. As they go to open the present, Liz leaves the room and the camera follows her. I want to know what that present is. Follows her into the hallway where she sees Savage, and Savage loses his mind. He corners her he pushes her against the wall and is screaming in her face. How could you do this again to me? What are you doing? Not again. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, she's yelling, it's not what you think it is. It's definitely something you would have called the police for if you saw it.
I want to know, where's Eric Bischoff? He left to go deal with the shit. He never showed up. And what is the present Vince had for them?
Hopefully next week we'll know. Maybe it was Bischoff in that present. Maybe he popped out like Rusev.
That's what I was thinking it would be.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I found you guys. Oh, in the hotel room.
Well, I mean, a surprise attack would be the only way for Eric to take on the entire NWO. So you would think
by himself.
But that's Nitro, Adam. Any final thoughts on the show?
Not a lot to talk about from the first hour. Just kind of like we were discussing. My big thought is I would have liked to see the main event given more time, and the Slim Jim Halloween commercial was just the best fucking thing. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Go watch it. Go back and see that. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, that's the only thing I would recommend watching from this whole night. The NWO stuff was okay. Did we have to cut back to it 1,000 times? No, but at this point, this is what people are tuning in for, to see the NWO, so it understands it. I sort of feel like the same way thing of Raw was like, they're progressing stories, and I'm interested in these stories. Were they doing it in an interesting way? Maybe not. Did all the matches suck? Yeah. So is there anything really worth watching besides a commercial for Slim Jim? No. And that should tell you everything you have to know about Monday Night Wars of September, whatever date it is.
September 30th, 1996, the year of our Lord. So, well, all that being said, we have to bring it down to the thesis of Monday Night Pod. We have to break it down. No, that's not for a couple of years. But what do you think, Jer? What deserved to win tonight? Monday Night Raw or Nitro?
I guess Nitro.
Let me tell you.
Uh-huh.
I absolutely agree for one reason. That Slim Jim commercial, man. We didn't see anything on Raw that we were like, this is amazing. We love every second of this. The closest thing I had to that on Nitro was Mankind digging a grave with his bare hands, and that lasted all of 5-6 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? This is 4 minutes of pure chaos from Macho Man wearing a bunch of different Halloween costumes and Ric Flair randomly showing up out of like magic over a what'd you call it? Not a NASCAR.
Well, it's a NASCAR. It's a Bush. It's a Bush. I don't know. Whatever the fuck it is. It's a racing car.
Right. I mean, it's just that segment is just chaos and hilarious, and it's commercial, but like that is like those are the versions of like Ric Flair and Macho Man that I love remembering. Like just these over the top, turned up to 12, like great versions of themselves. That's hilarious. And there's nothing on Raw that I could point to about that, other than like I'm stoked that Vader beat Shawn clean. That's it. So that being said, I have to give Nitro the edge.
Well, no surprise here, Adam. We know Nitro wins because they're in the middle of the 83-week winning streak. But Nitro gets to 3.3 and Raw gets 2.3.
There we go. We did it.
There it is. Who's ever at home keeping track of it, check that one off for us. We picked Nitro because me and Adam are not keeping track of it. So I hope we know you guys are. So put it on the board, Nitro.
You know what? I'm going to start keeping track of it, I think.
You're going to go back through all the episodes?
I'm just, you know what, starting today. So whoever wants
that
to go
doesn't help.
first here.
This is episode 50. So it's only 49 other episodes you have to go through.
This is episode 50? We're halfway to our centennial episode, Jared?
This is pod 50, Adam.
Wow. We did it, buddy. We're on our way. Yeah, I know, right? It's exciting stuff. Can you believe that we've been on this journey this long together, friends? We are actually, and we didn't talk about it when it happened because technically the Monday Night Wars started, September 6th of 1995? So we are more, so we are more than a year into this journey right now. How freaking cool is that? I'm pretty pumped about it.
Hey guys, wherever you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you are following and subscribed. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a 5-star review because we love hearing from you. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribing. Click that like button. Click the bell, too. We drop it every Monday across everything, but just in case, we have some extra stuff coming to you, too. You could comment below. Let us know who you thought won the Monday Night Wars for this weekend, the other thoughts you had. If you have even more thoughts, you could tweet us at Monday Night Pod. You could write us on Facebook at Monday Night Pod. You could DM us or comment on something on Monday Night Pod on Instagram. And you could email us at info@mondaynightpod.com.
There it all is. I'm all about it. I would, if I were you, I would be connected with us as well. It's a lot of fun. We want to have our podhead community right here. And man, we've got so much more to go. It's only 1996. We've got years ahead of us with this journey, my friends.
Years. Adam, any final thoughts?
Man, I just want to snap into a Slim Jim. And then
actually, I really want a Slim Jim also. That legitimately worked on me.
I know, right? It made you like kind of excited about like the Slim Jim.
Slim Jims are good. The thick ones too.
You know, I'm a bit of a jerky snob. I like getting like small batch, independently made jerky. I've had jerky of all different.
Well, Slim Jim isn't real beef jerky.
Right. Yeah,
Slim Jim, Adam. You got to snap into it.
Look, I am all about sustainability in the environment. So I'm glad that there's a company out there that wants to go to all of the thrift stores around the country and collect all the unused leather belts and turn them into edible material. I am totally on board with that from a sustainable perspective. Now, if I had Slim Jim or any other jerky available to me at the time, I'm not sure which I'd pick depending on what our future sponsors on the show might be. That aside, I'm probably going to go with like the Jack Links or the small brand stuff. Like, remember at my bachelor party, they were selling cool jerky at the beer festival we went to that was just made by like some people. I love that stuff.
Well, Adam, this has been Slim Jim Presents Monday Night Pod. Oops. Oh boy. We
We
pissed
did.
off everyone today, Adam.
Did it.
All right, I guess that's it.
Ruined our Patreon, ruined our Slim Jim.
All of our money down the drain.
That's how much we love this. We're doing it for you, the podheads. We're doing this for the passion. We're not doing this for the dollars. So come on, buy our T-shirt, and let's keep watching some wrestling together.
There it is. All right, guys. Bye.